Anyway, I want to talk about an alternator. Like you've got to make electricity in the car to replenish the electricity that gets drained out of the battery. So for years it was the generator or the dynamo. Which one is it? It's the word's synonymous. If you're charging a guy a couple of $100, it might as well be a dynamo. It sounds cooler. But a generator, they ran that through the end of 1967 on the MGBs and through about 70, 68, 70 on the midget, I'm not sure. They used generators on Austin Americas when they came in, and then they switched over to alternators. That was around 69, 70. So the alternator is just a much, much better unit. It makes more electricity out of a smaller unit and loses less of the energy that it makes than the generator. So the easy parts, I just happen to have one. The easy parts are like the housing. You know, these go together and hold all the guts. There's a Saturn alternator that some MG people use, which you can adapt to your car. It's a 100 amp alternator though. So there's the pulley on the front, and the pulley, the size of the pulley goes with the different cars. Has to do with the diameter of the front pulley on the engine. So but the guts to the alternator are the stator. So this in a generator is the part that moves. But in the alternator, it stays still. So all the energy that's produced comes out of 3 wires, and it doesn't have to go through some great huge brushes, which create a certain amount of heat and light, waste energy. In marked contrast then, this is the field. In a generator, the field sits on the outside and stays still. But here the field spins inside the alternator. Every one of these little segments puts up a little electromagnetic field. And as those come by, they whisk against all the little elements in here. And it makes 3-phase alternating current, hence alternator. That alternating current then is pushed through a diode pack. So it's got 9 diodes in it. And then that in turn there's a regulator. Here, this little guy, I took one apart once, can't get its magic inside. And there's a brush pack here, a brush pack for holding the brushes and so forth. But the major components here are the rotor, the stator, the diode pack, and the regulator. There's the other stuff, the brushes, bearings, stuff like that. But there are 4 different alternators between 1968 and 1980. The 1968 alternator is all by itself. So that's prior to that time, the generator and its controller, the regulator, properly the control box, were 2 big separate items located inside the car. The generator is just stupid, it makes electricity. The regulator regulates how much voltage and how much current it puts out. So in 1968, they were still on the same track. So the alternator was on the car making the electricity, and the 4TR regulator was mounted up on the firewall. Well, by 1969, they said, this is nuts, let's just put it in the back of the alternator. And at that point, the alternators became ACRs, alternator with a regulator in them. And the first ones out had 2 plugs in the back. Lucas, in their inestimable wisdom, labeled that as type 1 termination. And then later they got rid of the 2 plugs, and just went to 1. That's type 2 termination. Within the single plugs, there are 2 varieties. One's a narrow, wide, wide, and one's a narrow, extra wide, narrow. And all that comes back to how it plugs into this diode pack. This is from a 68. This is a 68, so this is a, 69. So there's a bunch of differences in the construction of these diode packs. They're all interchangeable. I know how they all work. So if you have any questions about your alternator, get in touch. Usually your red light, ignition light comes on, gives you a warning that something isn't right. So you always do the cheapest, simplest, easiest stuff first. Make sure the posts, the battery clamps are tight against the posts and the wires are tight against the clamps and the wire and the ground straps tight on the body. And the main battery cable going up to the starter solenoid is tight. All the brown wires are tight. And the plug that plugs onto the back of this guy, even those connections are tight. Once you've ensured that all that's correct and the alternator still isn't working correctly, then you can get it rebuilt. There's a lot of rebuilders that'll still rebuild an old Lucas alternator. And it looks right. You can put anything on there at all. Mitsubishi, gosh, who knows? You can put that 100 amp alternator on. So from the Saturn, but our alternators are just fine. So with that, I'm gonna go back over into chat and start answering some questions over here. So hang on just a minute while I scroll up. So Rich Sampson, you can unmute yourself. Tell us where you're from. I'm removing my 66 MGB dash to repaint it and have all the gauges and all the switches, bolts and nuts out except the 2 screws or nuts above the tack and speedo. They are hidden. And one write-up that I have calls them screws and the other calls them nuts. Are they screws, Phillips head, or flat? These are the screws that above the tack and the speedo. Can you unmute yourself, Rich? Because
yeah, I'm here, John.
Yeah. So are these the long legs on the back of the 4 of them, the tack and speedo that should have a thumb nut on them?
No, I've already got the tachometer and the speedometer and all of the other gauges and switches out. So I'm now down to the mounting bolts that hold the metal dash to the body of the car. And I've gotten all of the large bolts off, but there's 2 small screws that sit and screw in. I don't know if they're screws or nuts, but there's something up there that's the last thing holding the metal dash to the car.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, you got a mirror, you got a light, can you look up in there? I mean, you can't work in a mirror, but you can look up underneath there and maybe get a clue. I'm just thinking that there's like 7 or 9 1/4-inch nuts underneath there, aren't there? And you just unscrew the nut and the whole dash comes out. There's 2 on the bottom to keep the bottom of the dash from wiggling.
Right.
There's two screws that come up like that.
Sides. There's one on the left and one on the right. And they're like studs that come out of the chassis of the car and nuts go on it to hold the dash in place. But if you reach way up behind where the speedometer and the tachometer were, there's a little bracket there, and the bracket is bent so that you can't see inside of it. There's just 2 holes where you can fit in whatever it's supposed to be. And one guide that I have calls them screws, and another one calls them nuts.
I don't know.
Come out of there.
Is anybody else working on a steel dash help out? I'm buffaloed here. I don't know.
Okay.
We haven't got anybody to weigh in yet on any ideas on that, Rich, but.
I've got a steel dash that I just pulled out not too long ago. I didn't see any screws in it at all. They were all just nuts.
Do you know the part?
And they get kind of rough and kind of crusty up in there.
Hey, John, here's one.
There you go.
That's what he's talking about right there.
Those 2 screws at the top?
The steering wheel comes through here. There's
Yeah.
2 nuts up on top he's having problems with.
Okay.
They're
But they're
7/16
nuts.
what they are.
Did you say 7/16?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's probably.
They are difficult to get.
Well, I can get in there. I can get something on them. I just couldn't. But are you sure a 7/16 will even fit through that hole?
I bet it's a 1/4 28 stud. And you need if you got 1/4-inch drive tools, another excuse to go out and buy more tools. You got to have 1/4-inch drive tools.
I've got them.
And you need
Okay.
get a little swizzle, a little swivel.
I got
Makes
it.
it a lot easier to get in there.
Yeah, it's like a knuckle. Yeah, I've got that.
Exactly.
Okay. Hey, Richard
Okay.
Reese from Hurricane, West Virginia saved my bacon because I didn't know. So good luck there, Rich. All right, so we're going on to Mark's laptop. John, I'm thinking of replacing my tires. They're okay tires from Firestone. Not Firestone tires. I have 12,000 miles on them, but I'm reading how much better the ride would be on Pirelli Cinturados. So 2 questions. Tires, and 2, if I only buy 4, is it safe to use one of my old ones as a spare? Yeah, absolutely. You know,
So John,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, go ahead and answer that. The first one that didn't come out was what your opinion was of, spending that much money on a good tire as opposed to everybody drives, $75 and $100 tires. Is what I'm reading fairly accurate? If you're willing to spend the money, that you're going to get that much better ride out of it, twisting around the road kind of driving?
I would think it's probably descending value. I mean, how much better could a $500 tire be than $125? Not 4 times as good. So diminishing returns probably hit you there someplace, but I don't know anything about the Pirellis. I know nothing about those tires at all. So I do know about
those were apparently the original tires on the car, and they would be original size tires. And unfortunately, not too many people make the original size tires for that car, and they're all $175, $180 a tire.
Yeah. So,
but anyways, I interrupted you at the beginning. What is your thought on using the different size for the spare? If I go to the
that's fine.
65 HR,
that's fine. You shouldn't run 2 different, if you were to have a blowout or a flat in the back end, it's a bad idea to run 2 different diameter tires in the back end because it makes the spider gears inside work. They're there to help you go around a turn or something, but not to run down the expressway. So if you're going to, on the other hand, you put a bigger tire in the front of your steering wheels, it's just used for a spare for a while to get you someplace else until you get the tire repaired. It's okay.
because if I go that route, basically the price of the tires, I'd hate to have to buy 5. If I could get away with 4, my 175s that are on there now are fine. There's only 12,000 miles on them. They're only 3 years old, so I would go there.
I know we don't wear our tires out, not unless you got a horrible like front suspension problem or something, but it's usually the age. The tires age out. There's a way you can read the date code on a tire. I can't tell you because I don't know. But tire guys tell you the tire should not be more than 10 years old.
John, wouldn't it be a mistake to assume that if you spent more money on a tire, you would get a better ride? There are other factors that contribute to the cost of a tire, and you might get a more expensive high-performance tire that in fact will give you a worse ride as such, although it may give you better performance.
That's all true. My late wife bought tires, British tires. They're horrible. Horrible. Made so much noise. She hated them. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. All I can suggest is you go on and look and see what other people have to say about it. I'm no expert at all on tires.
Okay, thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Hey, you're very welcome. So David Farrell, he's weighing in. There's so many different options on tire sizes.
John, it's John Oldroyd.
Yes.
John Oldroyd, a word on tires.
Yes.
Okay. Am I interrupting? No, okay. Just a quickie here. You're dead right, John. I come from the rubber business. The tire people were our customers in Canada. I'm in Canada, by the way. Things might be a bit different in terms of what you're available over there. Yes, 10 years is the maximum time that you should have a tire on your car. After that, you start to get what they call ozone cracking. Now, to detect that, you can look at the sidewall on the tire to see if you've got little tiny cracks that appear as the rubber itself starts to age, and it just splits. It's like skin. Okay, it gets older and it starts. I've always had very, because like you say, John, it's not as some MGs don't go very far. That 10-year rule might not matter to you if you're always in town. If you're going up into higher speeds, well, if you're going to spend a lot of time on highways and things, then you're better off with something that's at least younger than 10 years old. But if you're in town and things, you can let that one go on for much longer. Now, in Canada, I've had very good experience with Pirelli Cinturatos. And the ones I have, strangely enough, I don't think Pirelli have a tire plant in the US. They don't in Canada either. But I think the ones we get here come from Brazil, or they might come from Europe, I'm not sure. And I've had very good results with them. And it's not as if I drive like a crazy man or anything like my wife tells me I do, but anyway, the Pirelli Cinturatos work very well. I've had Michelins as well, which I think should be widely available in the US, and they perform extremely well on I'm talking about an MGB, okay? And yeah, that's about the size of it. It's just an aging thing, as you well say, John, that you've got to watch out for. And for that, you have to look into the code on the tire, and in it you will find encoded on the side of the tire. I'm sure most people know about this, but it'll be encoded on the side of the tire. Essentially, it's something that looks a bit like a serial number. In that is embedded the date of manufacturing, and you'll be able to find that out. You just go online somewhere and say the code on the tire to find out the age, or should I say, the date of manufacturing. That's about it.
John Odroyd, can I ask you a question? Those Pirellis, aren't they supposed to be a reproduction tire? They're not like are they a modern radial, or are they a reproduction tire? Like,
what do you mean
they
by
a vintage tire that
tire?
they brought back? They were an original design from early production that they brought back as a limited. There was, from what I read in some different places, is that there was a desire by some of the Italian sports car people to have that tire back. And so they made a limited run of them. And that supposedly what's out there in the universe is what's out there in the universe. And if they see a demand, they'll make another run again someday. But they're not currently making, it's not like a mainstream line. But are they a vintage pattern? Are they a radial, or are they, an old bias ply design?
Okay. The tires are made in huge molds, and then they're put in an autoclave and they're cured. Now,
Right.
What you've got to do is, the answer to your question is find out the manufacturing date that I mentioned just now. That'll tell you. Now, these old molds still exist, and you can use them again and again and again to make new tires. And the compound would be probably a better, more modern compound.
More modern compound.
You don't want to be putting on a tire that was made in a batch that was made 20, 30 years ago. No, you won't do that.
I happen to have owned both the old Cinturatos and the new Cinturatos over the 40 odd years. And I can tell you the new Cinturatos are nothing like the old original ones made in 1978.
Exactly.
They're a way better tire.
Yeah, this is to do with more modern compounds and better developed compounds, more newer ones. Yeah.
And I believe the Cinturato was always a radial tire. It was never a bias ply tire.
Was it? Okay.
So there are two,
Absolutely.
there are two competing things here. One is that you want the smallest tires you can possibly get, so you don't have to accelerate 4 tires when you're trying to accelerate. The lighter they are, the better it is. Steering's easier, all that kind of stuff. On the other hand, when you think of doing, I don't know, 70 miles an hour in an MGB, supported in four corners by about as much or less contact areas you have with one shoe on the ground, maybe you want a little wider tire. So the original tires were 165 14s. And then those became unavailable. Now you get the 175 or 185, and those are pretty close in size. And Vredestein, I think
That was actually what my, yeah. That's actually what my next question is you hear all these, different sizes being flipped around, people say this is the maximum you can get in, under your fender wells and everything else. But what is, just, I'm not racing the car. I want to have something that, is sporty enough so that I can go on, the curvy Texas roads and stuff. But, what is the right tire size for, a 66B with wire wheels?
175, 70 14s, 185,
Okay.
70 14s.
See that, but those are two different.
Well, they're two
Sizes.
different size tires, but it comes down to what's available right now. Sometimes people have 175, sometimes 185s. You can also go on Universal Tire or Coker Tire. You got a TR6 and you want the original red line Michelin's, no problem. I think they're probably $600 a piece, but you can get it. So like the Pirellis that were made in a batch. So anyway, through Coker and Universal Tire, Universal's in Hershey, Pennsylvania, Coker's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, they ship all over. They've got a tremendous listing of stuff. But so those two intersecting.
John, Lost Motors.
Say again?
Lost Motors does a thing on time, and they break down the sizes, and actually the two closest to the original on the MG are the 175 and the 185 70 14s. There's compromises either way, but they're the two closest profiles you'll get to an original tire, which the car supposedly was designed for.
So if you could have either one, which one would you go with? If all things being equal, is one of them better?
You read, John, if you don't mind me answering, if you read all the forums, everybody's got an opinion. I went with 175s. A lot of guys go with 185s, and I think you can't make a mistake with either one from what I've read.
10 millimeters isn't much. So,
Yeah.
so
All right.
no absolute answer for you. Okay, well, hey, everyone's
Thanks.
learned a lot about tires here. This is very nice. John Oldroyd, thank you very kindly for this. Rudolph Mortimer, MGB fuels sender would reduce the level shown by 30% on acceleration and slowly creep back up to actual level at steady speed. So we changed the sending unit. The acceleration effect went away, but now the gauge goes down, showing low fuel, lower than actual. So what's going on? So are you here, Rudolph? Can you unmute yourself? Or you can try while I talk about it a little bit. I wonder what year this car is, because after 1964, 5, they put a voltage stabilizer in there. So the gauge moves very, very slowly. And my MGA is hooked right to the sending unit. And when you stop at a stoplight and the gasoline's sloshing back and forth, the fuel gauges on the dash is vibrating and swinging back and forth. They got rid of that when they put the stabilizer in. So I'm not sure, or is it something really, really weird? The reason that the new sending unit doesn't work so well, all you have to do is take the covers off them. The original sending unit has a little card on it with a resistor wire. I don't know, 300 turns of resistor wire. The new ones have 50 turns of resistor wire. They're not built as well as the original ones. You can always fix the old ones. I just did that for a guy here in town with an MGC. So I fixed his old sending unit. So, but why it was moving fore and aft, I don't know unless it's a real early B. So,
Hey, John. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I had a problem with my B72B with the sending unit always showing really low fuel, lower than it was. I bought another one. It showed the same thing. You know, I checked the wiring and it showed full deflection. So um, I, I went to British Parts Northwest and they have what they call an improved sending unit. And it cost a little more. And I thought, let me try it. One of the differences is that the plate that the locking ring goes on is plastic instead of metal, like the Chinese ones.
how does it ground?
It has a ground wire. It has 2 leads
Okay,
on it.
right.
So it's still, it actually has three prongs on it. You only use 2, but I found it to be super accurate. And when I took the old one out, the second old one that was still bad, and I put an ohm meter on it and just worked the arm, it's super erratic, very, very bad. And this one, before I put it in the car, I put the ohm meter on there, very linear, you know, and it also, instead of it has a solid float on it. It has, I don't know what it's made out of, but it's a rectangular solid float. And so I've had it in there for about 6 months and I've been just thrilled with it because I finally, after 27 years, have an accurate fuel gauge. So just thought I'd share.
British Parts Northwest.
Yeah, they have the regular one, which looks in the picture just like what Moss has. And then they have what they call their improved. And it fits the 72, but I think the later Bs had the pickup in the same unit.
But that's 77 through 80.
Right. So I don't think you can use it for that. But anyway, just thought I'd share and give them a plug that I was super happy with it.
Great.
Hi, John. I don't know if you can hear me. This is Rudy.
Yes, Rudy.
Hi, sorry. I couldn't.
Sorry.
Yeah, my car is it's a 79B.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, appreciate your comments.
Yeah, I cannot imagine why the fuel, unless you're accelerating for like 3 minutes, I can't understand.
No.
I can't understand why that would change. And I'm trying to think of how the voltage could be a problem, because all it is in the dash is just a voltmeter, and what's in the sending unit or what's in the cylinder head are just variable resistances. You're just reading voltage on the dash, calibrated in full or half. So I know some people have.
John?
Yes.
I have an issue with mine. I got to put a gas tank in it. And they offer a 16.5 gallon one from Moss with baffles. And there's a lot of aftermarket ones that you can buy, not from Moss. And Moss has some aftermarket ones too. You can buy them as cheap as $125 and as high as $200 from Moss. The sending units I've had issues with from Moss. I've had to bend the arm actually to get it to be fairly accurate. But do the baffles make a difference in that tank? In the 16.5 gallon tank?
They always had baffles.
This is for 1980.
Yeah, so but they also, T-types have baffles. It's like, why? Why do they have baffles? Because the noise of the gasoline sloshing back and forth is offensive? Probably not. So that it doesn't wreak havoc with the sending unit and push that float, that arm, all, you know, that heavy sloshing gas, pushing the arm around. There's a lot of people without baffles in their gas tanks that haven't complained, you know, that their sending units have failed prematurely. I'm not sure why they're there.
I've actually, I share a little story with you. I've got a new garage. I'm in the new garage right now, and I've been moving the MG back and forth. I've got it on roller skates for a while there to move it back and forth, and I needed to roll it outside the garage, so I had to take it off the roller skates. Up from the differential and I didn't have it quietly. I got the left side out with no problem, but the right side next to the wall, I had to reach in and lean on the car slightly. Car came off the jack and went into the gas tank.
Sure,
Not a
yeah.
pretty sight. So I got a good sized dent in it. The good news is it didn't leak. So I mean, if it leaked, I would have probably had a fire. So I'm lucky in that respect. But I got to replace the tank and probably the sending unit along with the new tank. So that's
Okay,
good.
I think I got most
Good
of
to
that.
know about British Northwest.
Okay,
Thank you.
so 16-gallon tank, you know, you're getting nominally 25 miles per gallon, so that's a 400-mile range. Help me, you're going to get out of that
Thank
car before 400 miles. So, where are you? Where are you, George? Whereabouts?
Buffalo, New York,
All right. Okay.
Tonawanda.
Okay. I'm supposed to ask everybody.
City of Tonawanda. I know you have family up there.
Yep.
So
Yep. And I have yet to come visit the Erie Canal. So from Judd to everybody, I've got a 62 MGA and a 53 TD, both with generators. The TD needs to have a tack drive on the back, but the MGA doesn't need that. Can I just get an alternator from Napa and replace the generator in the MGA with it? Is it plug and play? It's not plug and play. I suppose you could do that, but you want to go online and find out which kind of alternator is the best one to fit. I wouldn't do it. The generator is just fine. It's just, you know, if the generator goes bad, you have it rebuilt. If control box fails, you either adjust it or buy another one. It's not that difficult.
Well, I really haven't had problems with the MGA. The TD, I went through about 3 generators after, rebuilds from India or whatever, and 1 control box, and it seems to be stable now. And there is a thing called a dynamometer that I've seen on the forums. It's an alternator in a TD case, so it's got the drive on the back. If it ever gives up again, I'll probably end up doing that. But that's what I wanted to know. On the MGA, if it ain't broke, I ain't gonna fix it. But I just wondered if it did break, if I could just get a generic alternator, or do I have to get something that was designed for an MGA?
No, you could get any alternator would work. You just got to get it wired correctly. That's all.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So where are you, Judd?
I'm in upstate South Carolina.
Okay. All right, Steve Olson weighs in about alternators. He says he never got more than about 10,000 miles out of a Lucas alternator, always failing at an inconvenient time, far from home. Saturn alternators often go beyond 100,000 miles, so I switched. So Steve, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so hey, sounds, looks about the same.
It works well. I got it out of a junkyard out of 100,000 mile Saturn and put it on. It's been on my car for 20,000 miles.
Yeah, there are improvements on design. Yes.
George, I have a 1980 and with my 2 electric fans and the headlights on at night, the Lucas could barely keep up with putting enough out to handle the fans at idle and the headlights on. So I mean, it was just teetering on 13 volts, period, at idle. And I went to the alternator plug for it, and from Napa, and it's pretty straightforward. It's a total fix for later B with electric fans, 2 electric fans.
Which alternator was that again, George?
I went with the Saturn.
Okay,
I
okay. There's a lot of information online about how to, you got to take the case apart.
Here, but
Okay.
there's a lot of, and then put the two wires to one, and that's it. And the other wire goes to the starter, I think. And that's it. I mean, that's from memory, but it's straightforward. It's a good fix, and I have no more problems with electric fans or idling at, with my headlights on.
Well, the proof is in the pudding. So if it works and you're happy with it, hey, great, So wonderful.
I've been driving the convention, and that was one of my concerns last time at convention in Pennsylvania, was getting home, and my alternator seemed to, I got a voltmeter in the vehicle, and I was averaging around 13 volts, and I didn't like that at all.
That's a volt too low. So, all right. Well, hey, George, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
I got a question.
Yes.
It's regarding if your alternator is positive ground or negative ground. I mean, your vehicle. What would you do for the alternator modification?
Your car has to be negative ground. There's the only positive ground alternators were Jag alternators prior to, 1968. That would be just an unusually difficult and cumbersome path to take. So switch the car over to negative ground, and then everything works. Everything.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to mute everybody here just for a second, not because I don't like you, but just to get everybody down. We've got a question from Montreal. 1971 MGB bleeding the brake system. It's just from A. But
yeah. Can I put silicone fluid in it instead of regular brake fluid? Because one of our members mentioned it, and it's good if it gets on paint. It's not as corrosive, and it's hydrophobic, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the other camp, oh, it damages seals and this and that. So just curious on an opinion.
Well, it's the two intersecting lines like the tires. The smaller the tires, the better you can sort of get. But on the other hand, at what point do you lose traction? So with the silicone brake fluid, .5, that's what it is here. .5, its single advantage is it does not eat paint. So if your car is like, when's lunch, open the bonnet, and it's like, oh my God, this is just operating room, beautifully restored, you really don't have much choice. You've got to use silicone. But if it's all beat up around the master cylinder, then I just use .4.
Okay.
So .5 almost always leaks. I don't know. Molecular structure, I don't know. Beats me. It leaks. To leak out of the master cylinder, to leak out of the slaves, out of the rears, usually doesn't leak out of the front brakes. MGAs that use silicone fluid, very often you'll see them at the show, and there's a sponge underneath the brake master cylinder, so they can pull it out every now and then, just wring it out because it drips. But when it does drip, it doesn't hurt the paint.
Okay. Well, mine has a bit of damage now, so I'm not too worried about it. So, okay, so I'll stick to the regular stuff. Yeah. And just another side note, this was a great suggestion.
Oh, you got it.
And I not only got it, I love it. And I've already shown it to one of my little cousins who I take for rides into car shows. So thank you. It was a great suggestion. I hope other people in the club, you should mention it again tonight. It's really, really fantastic.
Mouse the Man and the MGB by Wayne Truex. Yes.
I got one up here in Canada.
Hey,
me too. Rock
on. That's where Alex is. So, and he's coming out with a coloring book to accompany that.
So, oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah.
And it really is anatomically correct. It's just hysterical when I've done all of the procedures that are in this. Tuning the carbs, changing the brakes, changing the oil, and checking your valve clearance.
Yeah, when you look at that valve lash picture, it's like It's kind of cartoonish, but it's absolutely correct.
Yeah, so just fabulous. So thank you.
Yeah, hey, thank you. Thank you. What's the temperature in Montreal today?
I think we're at -10. It's not too bad. We're almost getting into t-shirt weather.
All right. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks. Kurt Hoffman weighs in and says to everybody, an alternator is a relatively simple installation, minor wiring changes. There's lots of advice on how to do it on Barney Gaylord's MGA Guru site. And he's installed one. Kurt's installed one on both of his magnets. Instead of putting 2 alternators on one magnet, he's got one on each. So you can make a case for him. Absolutely. I love the original stuff, but that's me, whatever works. Joe Viola is weighed in, and he said 1959 Bug-Eye Sprite, positive ground. I understand they now have alternators which can be used on positive ground car, but that just isn't, yes, you can find anything, but just make it negative ground. It doesn't hurt anything, and everything works exactly the same. So it'll work out all right. So Avil J01's iPad just changed an original fuel pump from a 72 MGB with a Moss SU AZX 1307. You're going to have to tell me what that is, Mr. Avil, because I don't know which pump that is. On your 72B, I see up here, maybe you stepped away for the moment. Geez, there's a story. My grandfather had a, I don't know, 90th birthday, and the family got together and they sent a note down to Ernie Harwell. My grandfather used to listen to the Detroit ball game, and Ernie Harwell had instructions, as he did every day, to longtime fans to wish someone a happy birthday. But my grandfather always turned it down during the advertisements, so he never heard Ernie Harwell do that. But are you back up here, 72 MGB with a fuel pump? We'll just have to wait for him to come back around.
John, this is Joseph.
Oh, okay.
Just to follow up.
Yes.
This particular Bug-Eye has the 1275, which has the electric fuel pump. And my understanding is that the diode in that fuel pump is for a positive ground vehicle. Therefore, you have to also change out that fuel pump to a negative ground.
Thank you.
Also,
yes.
Your instruments as well, you have to change out.
Not the instruments, not the instruments. They're real stupid. You are correct. The original fuel pump, well, actually on a 59 Bug-Eye, there was a mechanical pump wasn't it, originally, but
yes.
So you've got an SU pump fitted. There are 3 different types of SU pumps. One's for negative ground, one's for positive ground, and one's unisex. So that's the one with the condenser rather than a diode. So yeah, if it's wrapped in red tape, if the fuel pump is wrapped in red tape, that is the way that SU provides them, so you know for sure it's a positive earth. So you have to take the diode out of that and put the other diode in, or solder the diode in backwards. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, the other thing is, of course, the alternator produces a, for lower RPM, you get a higher voltage to your battery, correct? That's one of the advantages.
Yeah, well, it's still producing some electricity at tick over at idle, whereas a generator really doesn't come in until 1200 RPM.
Okay.
So, but
John?
sitting idling forever, it ain't going to make an awful lot of difference. Yes, who's on?
John Avalone. I was asking about that fuel.
Yes.
What happened, John? The car was sitting for about 3 months while I got the right part, and I finally got around to changing it, but there was only a quarter of the tank of gas in it. And I found in changing it out, there was a backup, and apparently I didn't see this toggle switch in the trunk. And so the new pump works fine because I hear it clicking, but it's not starting, and I had the choke full out. Do you think there's water in the gas tank from only having it a quarter filled?
Well, that's a possibility, but when you turn the key on and hear the SU fuel pump work, it should go tick 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 tick.
Yeah, yeah,
and then it stops. Then it stops because it's pumped up. It's got pressure in the fuel lines between the pump and the carburetor. So if it's continuing to pump, you either have a leak on the inlet side, or that's the most common one. But if it doesn't start then, it may be because the gasoline's too old. That's
Okay.
a real possibility. So you juice it up with some fresh gas, pour some fresh gas down the throat, spray some ether, carburetor cleaner through the air cleaners. It'll start up and it'll start to run. It'll run great until you shut it off and it gets cold again, and it won't start up on that same gas. So the first thing to do is go down and get some good gasoline in the tank.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good luck. Good luck. And again, you know, I dispense advice, suggestions. I have to pay insurance. Go figure. I said that last time. I got to pay insurance every month so that if I tell you the wrong thing, and I don't know, your survivors, contact my attorney. So anyway,
John?
Yes.
Addressing the gas question, particularly with, I don't know if the gentleman's running ethanol, and his, my understanding within 30 days, if you don't burn out that gas, it is going to go to water. And I know what your feelings are for using gas additive to prevent that problem.
Pure gas is great. If you got your phone, you can go on puregas.org, I think, and find non-ethanol gasoline. But modern gasoline, after 3-6 months, it hasn't got enough volatile components to start to burn when you're spinning. I mean, when you're spinning the engine over, the carburetor's job is to evaporate the gasoline, and that requires a lot of air going through the carburetor, and it just isn't spinning over fast enough at idle or with a starter motor to vaporize the gasoline enough to start, because these volatile components have already boiled away. So you put some other stuff in there, it'll start right back up again.
What's your belief about adding a lead additive to regular gasoline?
That's snake oil. You can, you can't buy tetraethyl lead. Tetraethyl lead is terribly, terribly dangerous and illegal. So whatever they're putting in there, you know, is to for what reason? We thought back, I mean, I've been in this for a while, but when we lost the lead in the gasoline in the mid-70s, they started using phosphorus instead of lead, but they could still call it leaded, go figure. We figured that everybody's valves would burn out real fast, and you valve rescission, and in the old-fashioned days called sucking a valve up into the head. It doesn't happen a lot. Everybody switched over to the bronze manganese valve guides because the cast iron guides weren't going to be any good anymore because we lost the lead. That turned out to be not only incorrect, but wrong, because the manganese bronze guides have got to be reamed out to 2,000 instead of half a thousands for the cast iron ones, and they still, at that size, the manganese bronze ones grab the valve, usually when it's open, and then it ceases to run. So there's a lot of hope about the lead, but modern gasoline is just fine. I run night in my MGA. I've got it popped up to about 10.5 to 1. I run a high test gas out of the pump. I don't even chase the pure gas stuff. So.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Why do you choose an MGA for your personal car?
Well, no, that's maybe we should answer that next time, because my first MG ever was a TD 28822. I'd love to know where it is today. And then I had a bunch of other MGBs, MGAs, and this one, a customer calls me up and he says, how much to rebuild the engine on my MGA is I put a rod through the side of the block. And I said, oh man, I mean, geez, this is gonna be expensive, it'll be $800. He goes, oh man, I only paid 500 for the car. I don't want to spend that. And I was looking for an A, and I thought, well, I'll go over and look at it. And I went over and looked at it, and it was a deluxe, which is the X twin cam MGA. I recognized it, and I said, hey, I'll give you 750. His wife was ecstatic. She said, I can't believe it. My husband bought it for 500, blew the engine up, and we're selling it for 750. I said, I can't believe it because I'm getting a real special car. It was May in 1976. I just had it for a long time. That's all. So, you know, if I was going to drive every day in one that I was looking for comfort, it'd be like a 77 through 80B. So.
Would you put a MGB motor in a TF?
No, you can make a case for it. But if you still got the original engine, if you want to go faster, buy an MGA. If you want, you know, I mean, you can do it, but it's just laden with trouble. I mean, there's so much work you got to do. It's all laid out. People have already done it. You can find people on the internet who have done it, but everything changes. I mean, it's just, plus the pedals, what do you do with the pedals? There's a lot of trouble trying to switch it over. You can do anything, but I make the TF engine real nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to mute everybody again just for a second here. And so we get rid of the background noise. I'm going to go on to this next one. Dale, I think my microphone is working again. I have a follow-up on the Canadian invention of the Robertson screwdriver. So Dale, are you tune in and help us understand the Robertson screwdriver?
Okay, I'm here, John. Can you hear me today?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Last week we were talking about using a Phillips screwdriver to assist you lining up an engine on the engine mounts. And I said, but in Canada, we can also use a Robertson. And most people don't know what that is. But a Robertson screwdriver was invented in Canada in like 1910. And instead of a star-shaped head like a Phillips, it's actually a square head called a Robertson, and it was named after the inventor, Mr. Robertson. So in almost all construction jobs, people use Robertson screwdrivers because the head of the screw doesn't strip. And there's 2 or 3 sizes. All the construction screws come in Robertson screws. You don't see them in cars, but it's just a handy screwdriver and it works really well. So that's it.
Very cool. Very cool. I have in my library, I have a history of the screwdriver. It's a fascinating book about, you know, when the guy was charged by his editor with coming up with an article about a tool, a common tool. And he says, I couldn't do a hammer because that goes back in, you know, who knows when the hammer started. But what about a screwdriver? And the guy ends up in England and different museums looking at coats, armor, which was put together with a handmade nuts and bolts. Oh my gosh! So, history of the screwdriver. All right.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Where are you from, Dale? You've muted yourself. You can unmute yourself. There you go.
Windsor, Ontario.
Okay, all right. Oh, I'm gonna be so happy.
That's my 69 in the background, but the number 51 is the year I was born.
Okay. Yeah, Windsor used to have Downtown Motors. They sold a lot of minis.
They did. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Hey, thank you very much. It's we've got an hour that has gone by. I don't want to bear on this too heavily, but thank you to those of you who push my PayPal button. It's very kind, helps me afford to do this. Not that there are a lot of costs involved, but anyway, everyone enjoys it, and thank you very kindly for going there to my website. Gil Dupree, what experience have you had with a dynamometer? Is that the alternator that looks like the generator made by Holden in England?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, I knew one guy that did it on his 67 MG BGT and brought me the control box so that I could make internal wiring changes in there. So he could hook up the this dynamometer with the same wiring and have it look correct. So anyway, he did that. Then he moved to California, and I saw him at the MGB meet in San Diego at Coronado. And I looked at his car, and he had just a modern alternator on it. I said, "What's the deal?" And he goes, "Oh, this is 10, 15 years ago. So maybe they're better now." But after all that work, he spent a lot of time. But my guess is that they work just fine. It's like if you want to have the original look, but have new guts in it. It's just like taking the Victrola out of your grandmother's house and then putting USB ports on the back of it and have it do something completely different. So
I had an alternator in mine and it started making noise, and it's in my MGA, my Mark II.
Okay.
And Keith Martin was here for a car show, and he had an MGA at one time, and it was the first thing he asked me. He says, "Why did you put an alternator in it?" I said, "Because the generator failed." And this alternator developed some noise. It was a General Motors alternator. So a friend of mine had put one in a TF, a dynamometer in a TF with a drive on the back of it, with a tack drive on the back. And he was having real good luck with it. He's had it several years. So I said, well, I'll look at it. And there's several models out there. The dynamometer seems to be the best one. There's another one called Dynalite and another one, but this one was like $150 from England. And by the time I got it, it was about $200, $260, somewhere like freight and everything. But it seems to be working pretty good. I just put it in and painted it the same color as the engine, and it looks just like the generator sitting there. Dare anybody to tell the difference now.
Yep. It is weird when you look down the end of it, and you look through it and you go, "Oh my gosh, it's an alternator in there."
Yeah, well, you can't see in there really, in the back end of it, unless you get your stick your head way down.
Prior to installing it, when you hold it up, look through it. Yeah. So, where are you calling from, Gil?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Home of Coker Tire.
Yep,
And Bryce and Leslie.
Yeah, I got Coker tires on my car.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks very much. Let's see, Dan McGovern, since tonight's about alternators, I could not find a replacement alternator warning light assembly for my 77 MG Midget 1500. So I found an all-in-one LED light that would fit in the dash hall. It seems to work fine, but when I first start the car, the alternator light stays lit and the voltage is about 12.5 volts. After I drive for 5 minutes or so, the light goes out and the voltage pops back up to about 13.8. So I know the alternator is working, but I'm guessing there's maybe a loose connection somewhere. I don't have many hours on it since the engine and transmission have been reinstalled. And he also has replaced the three main wiring harnesses, front, rear. What model are we dealing with here? Oh, the 70. Yeah. So what kind of alternator do you have on that, Dan?
Well, it wasn't, I don't know what was in it originally, but now it's one out like from AutoZone. It's just a replacement one.
Okay, all right.
But it seems to work fine. Like I said, after I'm driving for a while, I just don't understand why it would wait.
Some other alternators have to be excited from an external source, so they hook up with a key. They don't, if the car is just running with the key off, how could it be running with the key off? But it doesn't make it any power. It only works if the key's on. So I don't know about those other alternators. I can talk to you all day long about a Lucas alternator, but I don't know
Well, it's supposed to be a replacement for the original. I won't guarantee anything. I mean, the harness fits the connector and all that.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So if that's going on, either it's all the old fashioned simple stuff. Either the fan belt's faulty, I mean, it's slipping. Why would it slip? Usually it slips when it gets hot, not when it's cold. Or there's a faulty connection, or there's something wrong with the unit. So.
Yeah, well, that's what I got to find the wire. I'm sure something's loose.
Okay.
Anyway.
Put an incandescent bulb in there.
Yeah, I had seen on a bunch of the stuff that you can't use an LED for that because it doesn't create the excitement field for the alternator. So it's probably the LED bulb that's.
Well, I had read some of that too, but I can't change the bulb. It's fixed. But I mean, it does work after a while. That's the part I don't understand. So.
Have you tried revving it when you start it up?
Yeah, I've tried it, and it doesn't seem to matter.
I made the terrible error on a TR6. It's not the site to talk about TR6. On a TR6, the turn signal is just a single bulb. So you got the green with white is right turn and green with red is left turn. And they come into the same bulb. So if you're winking on the right side, it grounds out through the left. And if you're winking on the left side, it grounds out through the right side, unless you put an LED bulb in there, and then it only works one way.
I figure out how to get the best viewing of this. I think you really have to sit at a desk for the best.
So I'm gonna get some background. I'm gonna mute everybody here, and okay. So anyway, Dan's from Slidell, Louisiana. Next year, I got my reservations in Gulf Shores, so I'll be down to see the Louisiana club and the.
Fantastic, Don. One more quick thing, as long as you talk about all the screwdrivers, is a Reed Prince, which was the predecessor, or they copyrighted it, but it's like a Phillips screwdriver, but it comes to a point. It's actually better and a little bit different angle, but one size will fit all the screws. But anyway, thanks a lot, John.
Hey, thank you very much, Dan. Okay, so we got any ideas why my MGB won't start after changing the fuel pump? So anyway, we've answered that one. Greg Blakeney says, hello, Slidell. So you guys must know each other. Kelly to everybody. I replaced my SU fuel pump with one from Napa. It works fine, but if I have a quarter or less, I'm fuel starved going up a hill. Okay, so Kelly, are you on? This is an interesting problem. Where you get down to less than a quarter of a tank and you have some problem with high gasoline use. I could sound like your grandpa and say, kid, if you're going to drive on half a tank, drive on the top half. Don't let it get down a quarter. But since Kelly hasn't come on yet, now the fuel pump should put out 1 pint per minute. It's a lot of fuel. You cannot begin to use that amount of fuel. So that's what it should be putting out. If it's just dribbling out, then something's wrong. Pump's bad, filter's clogged, there's vacuum inside the gasoline tank, there's a rag around the pickup inside the gasoline tank, who knows? We had one once where the inside line on the fuel, on a brand new fuel tank, had a hole in it. So it worked great until you used up about 2 gallons, and then it started sucking air because it would rather suck air from inside the fuel tank than gasoline. Because even though the pickup tube was down here, there was a hole up here sucking the air through there. So there's a bunch of weird stuff that can happen. But it has to do with fuel starvation. Will the pump rather pump air than fuel? I'm not sure what might be going on. From Michael Dowie, his 68 MGB has the alternator with the external regulator, the 4TR. Oh boy, I can't find a new replacement alternator. No, you cannot. Are any available, or will I have to convert to the later type with a built-in regulator? Okay, so Michael, are you on? You can unmute yourself if you are down on the left-hand side of your toolbar.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Okay, so So now the question is, do you want it to look original or do you just want it to work?
No, I just want one that actually works.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then in that case, there's a couple little wiring changes you got to make up at that external regulator. But you can get anyone. You can call me. I'd be happy to work through the wiring with you. I got to think about it. I can't roll it off the top of my head. But yes, you can get just a later model alternator, one of these ones that these other guys are talking about, and put it on, and it'll run just great.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, 68. 68 was an interesting year. They just had a lot of new stuff in there. They finally increased the diameter of the lay shaft in the 3-synchro gearbox in 1967, and put 2 bearings on both ends. Oh my gosh. And then the next year they switched over to the all synchro box, which is dramatically better. But 68 was a big transition year. There's a lot of stuff going on that year. So where are you from, Michael?
I'm in Northern Ireland.
Oh my gosh. All right, but near Mourne Park?
No, Carrickfergus, just north of Belfast.
Very cool. Thanks for being here. What time is it there?
It's about 1:15. In the morning, I'm starting to get sleepy.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you for being here. Thanks.
No problem. I enjoy it.
Thanks. Right. I'm going to hit mute all here just so everybody's down, and we're going to go to Greg Blankeny, who says, I run Coker tires on my 65 Beetle, and it's a great product. Thank goodness for the Volkswagen tires. You know, our tires originally were 550 15s, and the Volkswagen had 560 15s, which fit just perfectly. If it hadn't been for all those Volkswagens, it would have been harder to get tires. Ben Andrews is weighed in over in the chat section. You can go over there. He's got something you can click here from Tire Rack that has to do with Redenstein's, judging by the length of the address that he's got in there. So Redenstein tires are good. I've got them on my MG. I like them. And apparently they're available now from Tire Rack and not just Coker and Universal Tire. And Gene Cooper is also weighed in over on the chat section. Thank you, Gene. About British Parts Northwest and their fuel sending unit, so forth. So thanks very much. So now we're down to Paul with a 77B with row styles and 185/65 14 tires by the previous owner. Horrible. So anyway, Paul, are you on? Can you unmute yourself? While he's trying, I replaced with a set of John Brown mini lights and a set of Douglas 185/70 off the rack from Walmart. Best money I've ever spent on this car. So it's all out there. It's all possible. John Hunt is weighed in also about tires. I have Pirelli Cincherato tires. I'm very happy with them. If you have trouble finding them, try Lucas Classic Tire in Long Beach, California. That's a new name. I don't know that one. Lucas Classic Tire in Long Beach. So thank you very much, John, for weighing in. Brennan Cox. I'm considering putting a modern 5-speed transmission in my 74 MGB, and I'm doing the work myself. Is this something I should attempt? When you buy the kit, they tell you that every single nut and bolt is there. So if you feel competent pulling the engine and gearbox out of your car, then putting that 5-speed back in will be okay. I'm wondering which 5-speed you're taking a look at. Brendan Cox, are you here? You want to unmute yourself if you can? No response from Brennan. So there's a couple different 5-speeds. There are Ford 5 speeds and they're Japanese 5 speeds. And the Japanese gearboxes are better, absolutely.
I think I was looking on the Moss motors, what is it, the Vitesse, Mazda.
We just had, there's, something came up about that, the Vitesse, something, there's a couple different varieties, and there was some confusion among some of us in the trade, not me, because I don't know anything about that setup, but there's some confusion with the other guys about how to make it work. So I know there's Rivergate, I know there's a lot of different systems out there that you can use, cars from, or gearboxes from different places, but do your homework. Make sure.
John, I got the Vitesse 5-speed into the car just 2 weeks ago.
Hey,
did all the work myself. The kit was very complete. It fits. Uses the MX5 clutch disc, but retains the MGB flywheel and MGB clutch plate.
Okay.
And then you replace the hard clutch line from the master to the slave with a soft line that comes right out of the gearbox.
That's the one with the internal slave cylinder, right?
That's right. Yes.
I think that was where we had one guy talking about incredible amount of difficulty trying to make it work because they couldn't get the right. Something was wrong. They had it out of the car 4 times. Trying to get it adjusted correctly. It comes with instructions, and I know most people don't. I mean, there's outliers, just weird stuff that happens. So anyway, Brennan, where are you calling from, Brennan?
Berkeley, California. And
okay, and Brad, where are you?
Oh, I'm in Vancouver, BC.
Oh, you guys aren't that far away from each other. Not when I look west. So,
Brad, I'll send you my contact information in the chat.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, if you run into something, I could probably help you out.
That would be great. Thanks.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. So Bill Wemhoff has weighed in and said, I recently learned that a local restoration shop will re-sleeve and rebuild my brake master cylinder, but will not guarantee it if I use .5. That's correct. One of the big rebuilders, White Post Restoration, sends it along a note and says, hey, no guarantees with .5. That doesn't mean that the seals are going to fail and the brakes aren't going to work. I don't think it means that. What it means is it's going to leak. It's been driving me crazy. You just have to accept that there's some of that going on. And also for use with an MGA and some T-type master cylinders, the silicone fluid, for whatever reason, causes the rubber seals to swell just a little bit. And that swelling can cover up a bleed hole between the master cylinder bore and the reservoir. And in so blocking it off, the brakes can come on by themselves. I've had this happen any number of times using silicone fluid. There is a way out of it. Barney's probably got it on his site. If you want to know more about an MGA or a T-type and how to solve that particular problem with silicone, I can help you out. So, and to get in touch with me, you go on my website. It's got my name and address and phone number, everything right there. So
I've used silicone for 20 years and never had a problem with it.
Yep.
Never leaked. Never did. In my MGA too.
Great.
But I put a new master cylinder in mine now. I didn't get a rebuilt one or.
Well, that's
I just bought it. I bought a new one.
The something about the brass re-sleeving. I know some places do stainless steel re-sleeving. All I know is it can be a problem and you can suffer through it. So
you can get a new one. So why not get a new one? It's cheaper than getting it rebored.
That is correct.
John, I've heard that you can't put silicone in without rebuilding the whole system, but I am wondering about going the other way. I've had silicone fluid in my TD for probably 35 years. but I'm concerned about water striation. I don't want all of that water sitting in the low spots. I'd rather have it mixed with the fluid where I can bleed it out. Can I switch to .4 fluid without rebuilding the entire system?
That's been my experience. Or what you can do is simply bleed your brakes annually. Just bleed them 3 or 4 strokes on each corner. Well, not totally in the back because you're cleaning all of the line out with the first side that you're bleeding. But we always subscribe to the idea that brakes should be bled annually or at 12,000 miles, whichever came first. Guess what comes first now? Just to get rid of that water, just to get it out of there. If you do that, there's no problem. You can continue to enjoy having the silicone fluid in there. And the only thing on a T-type, what happens with real brake fluid is once it gets through the cylinder, it gets on the back of the wheel and then flies out and cuts a swath like that wide, takes the paint off underneath the fender. Then they're done that. So John, you're from Jackson, Ann Arbor? Where are you from?
I'm from Chelsea.
Chelsea, okay. Right. That was close. All right, next one, Rodolfo Cortez. Hello, everybody from Mexico. I have a 65 with an alternator, 112-volt battery. Can I add fog lamps, or will it be the doom of the battery? So Rodolfo, are you still on?
Yeah, sure. How are you, everybody? First time I meet you guys. Really, really nice to hear from you. I meant a generator, not an alternator, sorry. I tried to keep the original look, and I kept the generator. So I think you already answered me a while ago this question, because you said that the generator starts producing power about 1500 RPMs, right?
Yeah, so if you're driving down the road, it ought to be okay. You can, I mean, the generators are only good for maybe 28 amps. So you can exceed that. And if you exceed that by having too many lights or something else going on, it's going to drain the battery. But that's really rare. It's really, really rare to have that kind of a problem.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm still learning about MGs. Really, it's the first time I have contact with the brand. As you know, in Mexico, they were never sold. And we are importing them from United States. So I found mine in Texas, and I just finished on December, this one here. On December 23rd, I put my key under the tree, and I finally did it. Finished after 20 months, of restoration.
Looks beautiful. Where are you in Mexico?
In Monterrey, Mexico.
Yes.
Up north, yeah. Yep. 2 hours from the border, more or less.
Yep.
John, I'm driving a TD with a generator, 27 amp, and I put, just for looks, a great big 7-inch driving light and fog light. And if I turn on the headlights and both of those, I exhaust everything out of the that the generator can put out. And it just means I'm running on the battery, so I don't run it for very long, and I don't drive at night, and it's just for looks anyway. But yeah, if you're using incandescent bulbs, now if you get LED fog lights or driving lights, you probably won't put enough load on it to even exceed what a generator can put out.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Judd. That's very kind. Yep, Rodolfo, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, you.
So I'm going to hit mute all here, not because I don't like you, but just to get rid of the background noise. And now we're going to Wiley, is all it says is W-I-L-E. I've got 3 MGs that are positive ground. I believe changing to negative ground would require the electric tack to be rewired to reverse the poles. You are absolutely correct. So as you get more modern, well, once you hit 68, they're negative earth. But between 64, when we get rid of the 3-man engine and the mechanical rev counter, isn't a tachometer till it's electric. We pick up an electric tach from 64 through 67 in the midgets 2. It's necessary to take the tachometers apart, reverse the connections on the power, and reverse the pickup in the impulse loop on the back side. There's instructions here and there about how to do that. But when you do that, you got to recalibrate it. So you got to have a reasonably good tach that you can hook up and rev the engine up to 3,500 RPM and dial the tach in so that it's right at the right spot. Or you can hire it done. West Valley Instruments will do that for you in San Francisco, and Neisinger Instruments will do it for you in Mamaroneck, New York. So Wiley Evans, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right. So anyway, yeah, are all 3 of your cars between 64 and 67?
Yes.
Yep. So at this point, it's like, what, change 3 of them? You know, so yeah, positive, there's no problem with positive ground. It works just the same as negative ground, but it just isn't modern. Some people want to put a radio in. Of course, you hook that up and it'll fry that instantly. So you got to get a voltage inverter that doesn't invert anything, but tricks the radio into thinking it is. So
Wired to the battery for the radio too, can't you? As long as you insulate from the
as
body.
long as you insulate, that's the operative phrase. And you can't. You think you got it all set, you got it all isolated, and then the friggin' antenna touches something and zzz, dead short.
That's good to know.
So, and besides, you don't need a radio in your car. The sound of the engine should be music enough to your ears.
I have no radios in any of them. I enjoy it.
Okay.
Amen.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, where are you calling from, Wiley?
Roseville, California.
Oh my, was it still about 1 o'clock in the afternoon out there? So yeah.
No, around 5, almost 6, somewhere
Okay.
around there. Hours difference.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. That positive, negative earth stuff can start to get confusing after a while. We used to deal a lot with people who were switching the cars, switching them over to make them negative earth. I did that with my own MGA. I used to run twin 6s, positive earth. I got a sticker from an organization, the Positive Earth Club, but I didn't dare put it on the car because after my last 6-volt battery failed, I said, screw this, and bought a single 12-volt, put it in the place of the twin 6s. As long as I did that, as long as the car wasn't originally more than mode of negative earth. So anyway, here we got from iPad 3. So when you figure out who you are, you can unmute yourself. I've got a 68 midget that I've had problems with the brake fluid loss, and I replaced the brake master cylinders twice and bled the system numerous times. Any thoughts on how to find my leak?
John, that's me. I'm Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck. So how much fluid do you lose?
You know, the car sits for a couple of weeks. It's a dual master cylinder in the 68. Okay, in the front, the only front portion of the master cylinder is leaking, and we replaced it twice. They're both Moss Motors master cylinders, and the car will sit for a week or so, and I'll get out to drive it, and the pedals go to the floor.
That's no good. Well, there's 2 things going on, because if it's not, is it empty when you come back to it after 3 weeks? It's empty and it doesn't work?
It is. The front portion of the master cylinder is empty.
Empty. Okay, so the fluid's going someplace. That's a lot of fluid. That's a quarter of a cup or more. It's got to be going someplace. It's either going onto your floor.
It doesn't appear to go on the floor. It's not on the floor in the front seat.
No, I mean inside the car. Put your thumb and forefinger on the brake pedal and just wipe the brake pedal. Okay. Wipe the clutch first so you know what it feels like. It should be powder dry. powder dry, and then wipe the brake pedal. And if it's powder dry, then it's not leaking out of the front of the master cylinder. So then if it's not leaking there, then it's got to be leaking on the floor of the garage someplace. I mean, gosh, that's a lot of fluid loss. You know, there is on a 68, there is the shuttle valve, which trips when there's a hydraulic pressure difference between the front and rear circuits. That's that little brass thing that sits up by the master cylinder, and you get 5 brake lines, 2 in and 3 out. It could be leaking out of there. That would not be uncommon, but then it would be running down the inner fender, taking the paint off and dripping on the floor.
Okay.
So that's
the other question I have, John, with that, this is a dual master cylinder, okay? If only the front portion of that is leaking, wouldn't I still have partial brakes?
You should have, yes, but once it goes empty, then air gets in the master cylinder bore. And then,
okay.
So that's why there's a problem there. So, but I'm real interested, you know, when we have our next meeting, see if you can get a solution to this. Brakes, I mean, the brakes are the most important part of the car. You just can't put the brakes at all. So brake, steering, and brake lights. After that, you can worry about whether the engine runs or the wipers work or the left turn signal works. So we're
okay. Hey, thank you.
Where are you calling from again?
I'm from Mystic, Connecticut.
Very cool. All over the globe tonight. So thank you very much. I'm going to mute everybody just for a minute here, and then we're going to go to Paul Evans. It says at this point you have a fair amount of echo when you speak. So I'll have to experiment with that. I'm moving the microphone farther away. I talk pretty loud when I get going. I don't want it to sound awful. I just bought this new, my daughter bought this microphone. It's got the puff guard on it so the P's don't come out so much. But anyway, it's got a USB port and I didn't have to program anything. I just plugged it in. But of course, I can't hear what I sound like until after I put it up on YouTube. But John, thank you very much.
I noticed Chuck McDonald has about 10 cars behind him there. Chuck McDonald, how many cars do you have?
I've got 20 cars altogether.
Gee, money.
I'm a British nut.
Ron, your voice is sounding pretty good to me.
Yeah, me too, John. No echo.
No echo here either. Sounds great.
All right.
No echo here either, Don.
Yeah, I got a guy that I know pretty well in Ohio, and he and his wife have got about 200 MGs under roof. You can always have them outside. They don't all run. Oh God, no. But they're all carefully stored. So yeah, there's interesting. And Forrest Johnson, who took over my shop, renamed it the Rusty Moose Garage. I think he's got 8 MGAs. Now I don't know what that really means. I mean, if 6 of them are running or 4 of them are running, but he's got them. So it's always interesting. 20, that's a lot. Oh my gosh. So let's see, what gasoline additive should I use? When you store the car, there are 3 or 4 different things out on the market. Seafoam, maybe it's one of them. I can never remember the name of the one that Mike at my shop, who works for us now, he says he puts it in his, in his outboard motor and his lawnmower and weed eater, and the next season they start right up again.
Stable.
Well, stable. That's one of them. That's not the one Mikey. But anyway, there's some out there. So for storage, yes, apparently yes. But just for running down the road, no. Okay. So anyway, we got Bill Reeves, Common and MGA Fords made in Canada. Hello, Dale. But I guess you guys probably saw that out there. From Judd, I've got a TD and a MGA Mark II and a 72 MGB chrome bumper. The MGB is the most comfortable and easiest to drive. The TD is my romantic, nostalgic favorite, but my MGA is the best and most fun to drive, particularly up and down our curvy, twisty mountain roads. I can only dream about owning an MGA Mark II Deluxe with all the twin cam stuff without the trouble of the twin cam motors. So just an aside, there was a certain part of the advertising people, part of the sales people out in the field who were clamoring for the factory. Give us a car that we can sort of pick up and then go race. Just have a good time and go race. So they developed this MGA twin cam. They put it through testing, stuff like that, and ordered up 2,500 engines and 2,500 chassis. The chassis are different from the normal MGAs because they have four-wheel disc brakes. Now, that doesn't mean they stop any faster. It means that they won't fade under repeated stops. There's no magic with disc brakes. There's less reciprocating weight. Anyway, they made 2,111 units, MGAs, twin cams, both coupes and roadsters. And it was a warranty nightmare, just holes in pistons, vibrations, oil leaks. And after 2,111 units, the head office said, that's it, we're done. We're not making any more of these things. So that nominally left 389 chassis. Now, so they sent guys out in the yard with sledgehammers to break up the twin cam engines to take a tax write-off. But they kept the bodies until 62, and right at the end of MGA production, they said, let's just make these work. And so they put the standard pushrod engine and the 1622 pushrod engine in them, and that's where the Deluxe came from. It was not called a Deluxe at the time. It was sort of an afterthought. First person who called it a Deluxe was not Wilson McComb, John Thornley, I think maybe in a book that he wrote. They weren't called Deluxe. He just called it that, and someone picked up on that. So they're all called Deluxes. There are MGA Deluxe seats, but not every MGA Deluxe has Deluxe seats. The Deluxe seats are a lot more like an MGB seat. Anyway, quick course on the Deluxe. So anyway, Judd, that's real nice. Yeah, the most comfortable one to drive is the B. I mean, my gosh, you don't have to think about it, just so nice, but the A, oh my gosh, A is so much fun. So now this is from, I still don't know how to read these, from Doug maybe. Please explain again, is pure gas good to use in a 1980 MGB with no emissions? I went on pure gas and found several stations. Yes, the advantage to pure gas is that there's no alcohol in the gasoline. Therefore, there's more energy per volume. I mean, a gallon of, this is off, not down a rabbit hole completely, but a gallon of gasoline has maybe 120,000 BTUs. And a gallon of grain alcohol, it's like, I don't know, 4,000 BTU. It hasn't even got anywhere near the energy that real gasoline does. So you can argue all day, why are they using it? It's political, really. But it doesn't hurt at all to use pure gas. So just try it. If you can't tell the difference, don't pay for it. Don't pay for the extra. But if it does run better, hey, and it will store for a lot longer. So that was, yes.
It's George again.
Yeah.
My car will not run on nothing but non-ethanol gas. I can't get it to idle properly. If I take it for a short run, pull into a gas station or pull into a store to get something, come back out, try to start it, it won't idle until it burns off the gas that's in the float bowl. Once it gets new fuel up there, it's fine. So I use non-ethanol fuel, and I have no trouble. It will not.
you've
I
got
think
to,
it's gassing, I think is what's happening. Rather than moving gasoline, it's actually moving a liquid gas rather than.
I know what you mean. You've still got your Stromberg carburetor on there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, well, that's a particular problem with that. And what the problem is that the gasoline with the alcohol boils at a much lower temperature than gasoline without alcohol. All MGC owners are stuck. Those things run so friggin' hot underneath the bonnet that you've got to make sure that you've got no alcohol in the gasoline to get good performance, so it doesn't kill. You know, going to the party store and to buy some adult beverages, and you walk out and your car doesn't start. I mean, how cool is that? Not. So, George, talk to me later. Call me tomorrow, and I'll give you some more hints on how.
And I've insulated the gas lines too, and move the filter to the back rather than underneath the hood, and things of that nature, and it has helped.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Paul Evans, who's weighed in, said, is that book about the screwdriver named One Good Turn? Yes, that is the name of the book. Thank you. Yep, absolutely. So that was good. Are you still here, Paul? As long as you weighed in and find out where you're from. But we don't see Paul, so we'll continue on. And from David Farrell, have you seen the Power Master alternators that have cases that look like a generator? So yeah,
yep.
That's
we use those. I've used those on my Fairlane, a '57 Ford Fairlane, and they look identical to a generator. You can't tell the difference. And I've called them, and they said that the outside case dimensions are close. I just wonder if anybody's ever used one. Especially in an early, because I've got a 66B, and I'd like it to look, original, but at the same time, give me an alternator would be kind of a cool deal. And use the original bracketry. It'd be good if we could use the original bracketry.
We're starting to ask a lot now. So yeah, some of that stuff just.
So have you used those or seen those?
I haven't seen the Power Master one. No, the only one I ever saw was the one that this guy with 67B, Harold Hoover, had on his just stunning 67B, and he bought that directly out of England from Holden, Holden, not to be confused with the British General or the Australian General Motors car.
Okay.
Holden. So where are you, David?
Bandera, Texas.
Texas. Oh my gosh.
John,
Yes.
Paul Evans, I'm here. I just wanted to let you know I'm from Balboa Island, California. That's all. I'm off.
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you. Thanks. All right, so Chuck McDonald has two MGs. He says
those are TFs. Those are TFs. Is a
TFs
typo.
That haven't been driven in 5 years. What do I need to get them back on the road? Brakes, steering, brake lights, in that order. Once that's done, then you can fiddle around and get them up and going. Be sure that you get oil pressure before you start the engine. Take the spark plugs out and spin the engine over with a starter motor until the oil pressure gauge flicks up. And then probably the gasoline that's in there is just awful. You drain that, and I don't know, what can you do with it? You're from California? Why did I
No, I'm from Mystic, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Well, you can, yeah, so you got to get rid of the old gas.
Yeah.
And turn the pump on and just let it tick, tick, tick through there and get the old gas out of the float bowls. Sometimes you have to clean the corrosion off the points in the distributor.
Okay.
They're tungsten and they corrode. Put a little piece of 600 paper, fold it over, just drag it through the points a couple of times, that's all, and then go for it.
Sounds good. Hey, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. From Gary to everybody. From Gary Kinsel. Thank you to those who've joined the Hall of Fame Facebook group this evening. We already have some good discussions going on. I hope others will consider joining as well. So thank you very much. And Gary's from Pennsylvania. So from Angus, John, it's the first time here. I've owned a 1980 UK spec MGB since '87. I live in the southwest of Western Australia. I have a problem with my radiator popping its fan switch for a number of years and then overheating. Recently, I did a bit of work on my car and installed a new water pump, a new heater control valve, a new thermostat, thoroughly flushed the cooling system, installed an oil cooler, running a 160-degree thermostat, that's too cold. I seem to have sorted out all my issues. The car is running nicely now, but the temp gauge is way down towards cool. So now I'm worried about that. Well, the car wants to run at around 190. It wants to run there. Are you still on? It's in the morning there, isn't it? Angus, are you still?
Hello?
Yep.
Sorry, I can't activate the video, but
oh, that's
anyway.
Okay. That's all right. I would put in a higher degree thermostat. The engine is not, I mean, compared to what? Compared to the human body. And if we get a couple degrees colder than we should be, or a couple degrees hotter, our bodies don't work right. Same thing with the engine. The engine likes to run around 190. So the thermostat doesn't control how hot the engine can get. It only controls what the temperature is on the bottom end. It has to come up to at least 190. In this country, I know lots of people in the South just take the thermostats out. That's no good. There's no regulation for temperature. So if you run the engine too cool for too long of a period of time, it's going to use more gasoline. You're going to do more engine bearing wear. So my suggestion is pop that thermostat up to about 100, 195, and it still should cool as well as it did before.
Okay, thanks very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. So thanks for being here. What time is it there?
It's about just before 10 a.m. and it's our National Holiday Australia Day today.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yep, thanks for being here.
No, thank you. I appreciate all that you offer, all the MG fraternity. It's great.
I'm looking for an excuse to come to Australia, find some club that wants to invite me down
Absolutely.
after COVID, of course. So
that's horse racing day in Australia, right?
Say again?
There's a horse race?
Oh, in Melbourne. Yeah, no, that's
Melbourne?
Annually November-ish or thereabouts. I'm not a horse racing.
Australia Day.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, thank you very much, both of you. Thanks for coming in. Bruce Frazier to everyone. John, can you please talk about do-it-yourself wheel alignment regarding toe-in? I read about a string method, and I think the spec is 1/8 toe-in on both sides. I'm looking for a simple procedure that doesn't involve technical equipment, even if it's not technically perfect. With radial tires, you want just a smidge, that's a non-metric term, of toe-in on the front end. Not as much as 1/8 of an inch. You need that for bias ply, but you don't need it for radials. And that's total. That's total. That means that the wheels are more together at the front than they are at the back. So the way that we used to do it was to lay down, we had a pipe and we had an adjustable screw, and we just come up and see what the tire width was at the rear of the front tires, and then take that same device and put it over at the front of the front tires. You could do that. I mean, you could do that with a 2x4 and some heads and nails, because it isn't gonna knot the sharp points of the nails, heads. And you just work with it until the tires are, it's hard to do it here, but until they're, you know, all but parallel. And when you do that, the steering wheel ends up getting giddywampus. So then you have to go up and pop the steering wheel off the column, get that straightened out. It still isn't perfect. Still, the steering wheel still isn't perfect. It might be off just a little bit, but there's only, I don't know, 30 splines there. So each spline gives you what, 10 degrees, a little more. So then you have to go down on the tie rods and adjust those equal amount back and forth to center the wheel. So it can be a long progress at home. If you get half a dozen pieces of waxed paper and put them on top of each other and put the wheel on top of that, then when you turn the wheel, it's not dragging on the garage floor. If you don't do that, you have to attempt to align the front wheels, push it backwards, push it forward 20 feet, measure it again, push it backwards, push it forward, measure it again, you know, just, but if you use wax paper, that can be a little easier. The wheel width at the rear end of the car isn't the same as it is at the front end. It's awfully close. And I'm not exactly, I've seen pictures on how to do that, but it just seems on our cars, there's something wonky about that. So just a 2x4, you know, I can't show anything here. And if I try to do some engineering drawing on a piece of paper, it'll look awful. But you can, I don't know if I got a picture of that old tool or not. And that took a while to make. So you just want something simple, one-time use kind of thing. But talk to me tomorrow. Call me tomorrow, and I can help you out with that just a little bit. Bruce,
Hey, John.
Yes.
You might consider using a shower curtain rod. Those are easily the tension that you can adjust those easily. A shower curtain rod.
Okay. Okay. The question is where, you know, usually in the front of the tire, the tread zigzags back and forth, and it's like, to what point do you measure? And you can't see one side when you're moving the other. It's almost a two-person operation. So anyway, but it is important. It truly, truly is. Bruce, where are you from?
I'm from White Rock, BC, Canada.
Okay, all right. That sounds north.
Thank you.
That sounds north.
John.
Well, it's north of Seattle.
Okay. Okie doke.
It's near Vancouver.
All right. Okay. All right. So Judd's weighing in here on maybe on how he's got this front end aligned.
It's a question. Does the car have to be, does it make a difference if the car is on the ground with weight on it?
Absolutely. You want it sitting as it normally would on the ground. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a fast answer, because guess who did it wrong a long, long time ago? All right, so from Kevin O, hello from sunny Florida. He's got a 74.5 MGB. When he jacked it up, grabbing the top and bottom of the wheel, there is play and a clunk. It's got steel wheels on this. Is this likely improper wheel bearing set or something very different? So Kevin, are you still on? You want to unmute yourself?
I am here, John. Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you jack the front end of the car up and grab the wheel at 12 and 6 and wiggle it, that can be because, and it does wiggle, that can be because the kingpins are bad and or the wheel bearings are loose. So now you grab it at 6 and 9 and wiggle it, and if it still wiggles about the same amount, it's got to be the wheel bearings, because you can't feel side to side. You can't feel any kingpin wear.
Okay.
The front.
Yeah, I don't feel it on the side to side, I believe so.
Okay. So if you're underneath there and you put even if it's up on jack stands, you take your trolley jack and jack up the front wheel. Just take some of the tension off the wishbone. Not enough to lift it up off the jack, but just enough to start to collapse the wishbone just a little bit in the front spring. Get somebody to grab a hold of the front of the wheel, 12 and 6, and shake it and look at the bottom of the kingpin and the stub axle. And if you can see wear there, then that's where it is. That's where it always is. It doesn't seem to cause any big problems. It doesn't break off. It can be really horrible. And at some point, it's going to affect your steering and your ability to control the car, but never in a dangerous way. So.
Okay. Perfect.
So where are you in Florida?
Tallahassee.
Yeah, all right. Yep. Okie doke.
Thank you, John.
Hey, thank you very much. Gene Cooper from Minneapolis. He isn't from Minneapolis. If he's still on, he'll tell us exactly where he's from. If you don't want to figure out the unmute, then mute again. You can hold down the space bar to speak. Thank you. I will, Gene, I'll talk to you later about this. I can only do as good as I can. Let's see, Brendan Cox. Brendan, you asked about putting a 5-speed in there, and Brendan's got an email address over in chat. And if someone's got some information, you can help out Brendan. That would be very nice. So Skip has weighed in here, and he suggests using racing fuel for storage, and it doesn't break down like ethanol fuel. That's probably because it doesn't have any ethanol in it. Somebody last week was talking about going to the airport and buying avgas, which some of it doesn't have alcohol, or I don't know. Anyway, that's another option. But when you buy avgas at the airport for your car, you're not paying the road tax. So it's somebody wants to get you in trouble. That's how to do it. But racing fuel is usually a high octane non-ethanol fuel. Okay, so here we got a point of contention here. Bill says, John, I have to disagree with the B being the most comfortable. My MGC with Miata seats is comfortable enough for my wife, which is important on long trips. Forget the on long trips, which is important. Whoever your navigator is, has got to be comfortable in your car, absolutely. I know those Miata seats fit. I know that's been a real common change to make. A lot of people have done that on their Bs and MGCs. 1969 uses a seat all by itself. It's a one-off. You know, the later seats are a lot nicer seats. Rodolfo from Mexico is asking, what was the site of the movies and cars again? And that's IMCDB. It's not the Internet Movie Database. It's the Internet Movie Car Database. And Richard, what was the Facebook name for the Hall of Fame again? And that's the British Sports Car Hall of Fame. I'm certain that's correct. Oh, wait, he says, never mind, he found it. So Gene Cooper has got some storage suggestions, and he says he empties his float bowls. Well, he says, does anyone else? So I assume he does, empty their float bowls before storing the cars. And of course, most of us don't. So what he does is disconnect the fuel pump from the engine, the fuel line, and just run the engine until the engine quits because it runs out of fuel. That way you know that the float bowls are empty. So Gene, are you still on?
Yes, I am. I am still on. And actually, I disconnect the white wire under the bonnet and let the car sit and idle until it's out of gas. And that way I found I never get that smidgen of varnish building up on the needle and seat, causing it to leak first run of the spring. And I've often wondered, this is the second part of my question, is if you were to put a switch in the cockpit that you could turn the fuel pump off half a block from the adult refreshment store, so that when you pull into the parking lot, it's almost out of gas. That way, when you come out, it's all fresh ethanol-filled fuel going into the float bowls. And possibly you would not have any problem, which a lot of us seem to have with ethanol fuel after the car is warm.
So the 1968 through 1976 MGBs, you've got the overdrive switch on the wiper switch on the right-hand side of the column, fore and aft. If you don't have overdrive, you've got a free switch. I have in the past switched people's fuel pumps to that switch, which works until the next season when they call and say, why won't my car run? And then you say, well, remember, dude, you wanted us to switch it? Oh yeah, that's right. So anyway, you can use that switch or put in a homemade switch. Sure. I don't know, maybe, might work. So how are things? What's your temperature in Minnetonka, or where? I can't remember where you are. Three Rivers, Three Lakes, land of 10,000 lakes. Where are you, Gene?
We're in Prayer Lake, Minnesota, 23 miles outside the Twin Cities, and it's
what's the temperature today?
Well, let's just say this: neither one of us would be going outside naked.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Gene.
Can we all say thank you?
We can all say thank you. Yeah. So here's just a comment about running an engine with too cold of a thermostat will carbonize the intake valves and ports. So this is for our gentleman from Western Australia. You just want to make sure that's correct. And that Internet Movie Database is over in the chat section. Okay, what's the ideal ride height, the front and rear of a 1967 MGB measured from the top of the wheel well center to ground? So I have probably 100 on an Excel spreadsheet, 100 measurements made from our complete lubrication for MGBs of all years, from the ground to through the center of the wheel to the bottom of the chrome strip. I've got those figures. I can't call them up right now. It's too complicated. But when we come on next time, I'll be happy to tell you what they are. What's most important is that all four measurements are the same, so that neither the front nor rear is higher, nor the left nor the right. I like a car that's up off the ground. That's me. I like those 77 through 80 Vs. They're just up off the ground. You drive over a dreadful thing in the road or speed bump or something. It doesn't want to tear your exhaust off. So I like the cars high. You've got to deal with the concentricity, the view of the concentricity of the wheel and the wheel arch. And obviously, if the car starts to sit too high, it looks weird. So anyway, but I don't have that. Richard, if you want to contact me tomorrow, I'll send you the Excel spreadsheet. And I'll try to remember to have that information available for next week.
So Leon, a quick question about that, because as maybe you can see in the picture right here, I guess my spring leaves, is that correct? The spring leaves? Yeah.
Close.
It's I think they are pretty old and bent down, so it's better to I don't know the words in English. It's better to hit them up. No, not hit them up.
Yes. It's my experience. I've got a spring rebuilder in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They work on trucks all the time, great, big, massive things. And these look like little tiny springs when you take them in. But I get mine rebuilt. I just had a pair rebuilt. You can buy new springs.
Okay.
The new springs, there has been in the past problems with the quality of the new springs, that they might be too soft, too stiff, or after a short time, sag again. That's why I always have my leaf springs rebuilt, but then we've been using the same rebuilder for 30 years. I always ask that they change the second leaf, not the first leaf with the coils in them to accept the bushings, but the second leaf. Just change it, throw the old one away and just put a new one in there. But when you're all done, the distance from the ground to the bottom of the chrome strip on all four corners should be equal.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
So what did I do? Did I run out of chat here? Oh my gosh, I've run out of chat. That's the first time that's happened for a while. We still have a couple of more minutes, so I can talk more about the diode packs. These are, you're putting all that energy through this little tiny diode pack. It's just absolutely amazing how all this stuff works. So.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Kurt. Since you've run out of all technical questions, I'm just going to throw a different question at you.
Sure.
I was over on one of the websites, I think it was North American MGB, and I noticed that they sell a John Twist hat.
Yes.
And it's not a hat that I've ever seen on your head.
Correct. It's more of a
yes.
It's got it's like tweed or
Right.
something.
I just wanted to know what the story was behind that.
They said, we want to sell hats with your signature on them. Would you sign this? So I signed it. So,
okay.
Hey, John.
I have one.
John and I have one myself.
So I don't, and the only other guy that I know of who wears this hat is from Nebraska. Oh, come on, MGC owner. So anyway, that's the, but these
Fiddler on the Roof.
yeah, you can find these. I tell people, I got these glasses, not these glasses, but ones that look a lot like them. They're not round, they're oval. I got these in the spring of 1971. And then I lived in London for a year, 1972, 1973. And while I was there, I bought a hat that looked like this. And ever since, I've continued to buy the same hat, same style of hat. When you go to find this hat, you just got to go through all these different sites and finally you go, yes, that's it. It's not a Greek fisherman's cap with all the cabbage on the side. It's just this one, like the Fiddler on the Roof hat, and it's corduroy. It's not leather, and I wear them until I wear them out. So then they become shop hats. Then they get holes in them, and then after I've washed them 4 or 5 times, the fabric tears and I throw them away.
John?
Yes.
When you measure from the chrome strip to the ground, you got to make sure your tires are inflated the same. I always go from the chrome strip to the center of the wheel, and that should be 14.5 inches.
You can make that case, but now you're judging two things. You're judging the center of the chrome strip and you're judging the center of the wheel. I know you can get close.
No, not the center of the chrome strip, underneath it.
Okay, all right, okay. We always did it this just because it's faster and you don't have to look at both ends of the measuring tape at once to make sure that you're balanced, just in the right spot. Just put it on the ground and take it up. And if anyone does want that list, I've got a number, even T-types and MGAs and stuff on there, just what we found, and then you can compare it to yours.
John?
Send me an email, yes.
The first thing in aligning a vehicle is to fill your tires to the proper spec. And that goes for a modern car. In fact, that's the first thing they do before on an alignment rack is to adjust your tire pressure. That's standard. So that should be done, for measuring height of the car or doing tow. You know, it should be, first thing you do is make sure the tire pressure is correct.
Correct. Yeah, you obviously wouldn't do it with an obviously soft tire. So yes, I did not mention that. So, oh, wait, we got one here. Just a minute. Angus has weighed in again here. Just a minute. We got a couple more. Judd has said that Saturday we had our annual polar bear run. Most of us were top down in South Carolina and western North Carolina and back. 125 miles, sunny and a balmy 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So the cars love to run when it's a little cool, especially if it's a little damp. I think they think they're home. They just seem to run better.
They really do. My bear enjoyed the ride too.
Very nice. So Duffy has weighed in here and said, my 76 MGB has the distinct bachelor's lean. So its ground measurements are off by quite a bit. So if you're really going at this inexpensively, you can switch the leaf springs in the back. So now that when you sit in it, the car seems to level out, but the leaf springs fail before the coil springs, far before coil springs will break. I don't think I've ever seen them sagged. So if the car is sitting with the left rear, assuming it's a left-hand drive car, left rear down, then it pivots. It's hard to describe this stuff, but if the back end is sitting down, it pivots left front to right rear, and the right front comes up. So you can look at a car, look at an MGB, and you go, oh my gosh, what's wrong with the front end? How come the right side sits up so high? Well, just get the left rear the same as the right rear, and the right front won't be high anymore.
Hey, John?
Yes.
If you want to know how to check for that lean, whether it's in the front or the back, you put a floor jack under the rear axle right in the center, and jack it up to the tires off the floor, then walk around in front of the car and take a look at it. And if the front springs are good, the car will be level. You take the jack around the front, jack up the front wheels, and walk around the back and look at it. And if the rear springs are wacky, then it's going to be leaning over sideways to the back.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent. Absolutely excellent. So that's Barney Gaylord from MGA Guru. If you've got a T-type, if you got MGB, Barney's got 4,000 pages of technical stuff that you can work through, shops, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, Barney, thank you very much. And he always calls from McDonald's, so it's always noisy when he unmutes himself. So thanks. I know I never thought of that. 45 years and I never thought of that. Thank you, Barney. It's a real simple way of doing that. So as soon as I start making new YouTube videos, I have to have that one up. So Angus puts in and says the UK spec 1980 MGB only has one cooling fan. Would you recommend fitting an aftermarket one to sit on the engine side of the radiator to work in conjunction with the original fan? I don't know why we had two fans and everybody else in the world, including Canada, had one. I don't understand. I don't know why. Federal rules, certainly. But those cars, if they're tuned well, hardly even need a cooling fan. And one is great unless it fails. My gut is that if you put a fan behind the radiator and just look at it, what's it going to do? It's going to impede the airflow. Its speed, it's going to impede the airflow. Now, if you're doing a lot of around town driving, stop, start, sure, make a case for putting an extra fan in there. But at high speed, it can't do anything but cut down the amount of air that's going through the radiator. So I'm no fan of aftermarket fans, push or pull fans. Those nice synchronous motors ought to be used on a turntable so you can play your LP records. And they don't draw anywhere nearly the current that the factory fans just, oh my gosh, you put one in your hand and hook it up to a battery, it wants to jump out of your hand. That thing's, I mean, it's, well, that's the startup torque, but even when the fan is blowing, I mean, it's blowing a lot of air, a lot. And that's, that demand for current is why there's an ignition relay on the 77 through 80s. And that's why you should also, in addition, run a relay on the fans just themselves up front. I think it was Angus who said he had problems with the sending unit, the switch blowing out of the top of the radiator, 77 through 79. By 80, they made it a little bit better. There are two different, and the switch used to have a part number that was started URP 1126. So we also called them ERP switches, just pronounced the URP, the ERP switch. Well, the ERP seal that was provided with that sending unit for the MGB had a very short neck. But if you bought the Jaguar one, it was longer and that took care of the problem. So we used to fit those. Another really handy trick is to take a zip tie and cut it lengthwise, and that it'll end up being just wide enough to slip through the radiator at the very top, through the fins between the cooling tubes, and you can put it around that sending unit and cinch it, and that'll keep it from popping out. Another thing is you've got a hook that comes out of the top of the radiator, and the sending unit is right there. If you put the hose on the radiator and put the hose clamp on the radiator side of the top elbow, it'll follow the wiring from the switch, and that will keep it from popping out. So there's a couple ways to go about that. So, but I don't know why there's only one fan on the other cars.
John?
Yes.
On my 80, I have two fans, and I found that one stopped running, and I actually took it apart and oiled the oil light bearing inside, which there's also a pad inside there. Re-soaked the pad, put them all back together, and they work nice. But again, as old as our vehicles are, the oil lights begin to dry out, and that's a common problem with an 80 or the electric fan vintage vehicle. So
that's true. And when you lose the lubrication and they start to tighten up, they'll start to squeal like a stuck pig. It's just awful sound. Cool car, man. What's the matter with it? You're just squealing. I remember going to some of the really early AMGBA events, doing my technical stuff like I've always done, and finding people who'd taken their fan motors apart to lubricate them and then put them back together 180. And because they're permanent magnet motors, that means they run backwards. So it wasn't uncommon. I mean, I saw it where you'd have the fans blowing towards the front of the car. So once the car warms up, it starts blowing air away from the radiator, and then it really warms up. And then another good one was one's going one way and the other's going the other way. So when you're sitting idling, the air is just going around. So you just have to be careful when you're taking those apart.
You gotta scribe the outside of the case with a screwdriver.
Hey, that's the way.
That's it.
Okay.
Hey, John.
Yes.
For a lot of years, maybe 15 or 20 years, my car was wired such that the fan was powered all the time, whether the ignition was on or not.
Correct.
And
1977.
so whenever I parked the car, after I shut the car off, it would sit silently for 2 or 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden the fans would come on. And then they'd run for a couple minutes and then they'd shut off by themselves.
77.
Yeah, 77.
Yeah, so they realized the error of that for two reasons. One is somebody comes running into wherever you're working going, hey, dude, your car's still running
You
out
left
there.
the car on.
Yeah, so that was one problem. The other one is sometimes in a certain combination of temperatures and parking lots, those fans can run for 20 minutes. And I mean, they take a lot of current and they'll draw the battery down a lot.
Yep.
So by 78, they changed it so they run only when the key is on.
Yep, mine runs that way now. The other thing I would say is that as a Canadian, we had the one fan, and but the wiring harness is the same everywhere. So the plugs and the wiring for the second fan is sitting there unused. And if you really want to add a second fan, it's easy enough to do. You just get the stock attachments and a stock fan, and it fits right in. You plug it in. Then people think you have an American car when it's really a Canadian car.
Yeah, there are lots and lots of little tiny changes market to market. So anyway, thank you, Brandon.
I think
Thanks.
the change on that is right on your fuse block. You
Yes.
move one wire.
Yeah, just easy as pie.
Yeah.
That's correct. All right, so from Mary, I don't know if it was Mary or, anyway, I missed your earlier conversation about tires. Too bad, because we talked a lot about them. He's got 4 MGs, all with wire wheels. The name brand tire stores here are not willing to install inner tubes on radial tires. Yeah, they'll tell you that, no, we can't do that because they're going to catch on fire and we can't be liable. Take your wheels to a motorcycle shop. They replace tubes in wheels about the same size as an MGB all day. So just a motorcycle shop will do it. And you've got to make sure that you've got really, really good tubes. There used to be 2 tubes, 1 tube for tube tires and 1 tube for tubeless tires. There aren't tube type tires anymore that are smooth on the inside. They all have ridges. So they got these ridges, and you got the inner tube always working against it, and eventually it'll chafe a hole through the inner tube. So that's why you want to get the best inner tubes that you can find. But talk to your local motorcycle shop. It's fun to hang around with those guys anyway.
John?
Yes.
Make sure whoever's going to do that removes the tabs, which are on the inside of the tubeless. Little ID tabs, little stickers, because they wear holes. I have 2 tires to prove that.
I had no idea. Okay, thank you very much, Skip. Where are you calling from tonight, Skip?
Lanesburg, just down the road from you guys.
I know where you are, but I meant for everybody else. Around our state capital of Lansing, Michigan, around there. So anyway, Bill's signing off. So thanks. Oh, I need a modern paint code for Glacier Blue. Oh, good luck. I don't even know what to tell people. Paul Deershaw has the best selection of original paint panels around. Sports Car Craftsman in Denver, Colorado. So my suggestion is you find something on your car that is still as nice as you can find, and just have your local paint store shoot it with their gun so they can come up with a spectrograph or whatever it is, the information. There just aren't any paint codes now. Every paint store's they're mixing the paint themselves. It's very, very difficult to come up with that stuff.
John?
Yes.
This is Rudy. It says Dora because I'm using my wife's laptop. On the side, I got a direct message from Bill. Bill says that there's a place called www.paintscratch.com. He says he's had really, really good luck with them.
Okay. All right. Well, that's more information than we've had for a long time. Thank you.
Yeah, FYI for everyone else.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, John, it's a company out of California. It takes a while to get the paint, but for whatever reason on MGs, they seem to have a lot of the older paint codes. And I've had a lot of compliments with people that never know that I touched it up. So for a company that you would think would be giving you touch-up paint for your Taurus or your your Malibu, they actually have some decent stuff for the older cars.
Very cool. This is called Paint Scratch.
Yeah, paintscratch.com. I left the
Okay.
I think that's
Okay.
what it is. I put the link
Yeah,
in the
I just
thing,
am
but-
not.
Bill, because you did it as a direct message, I don't think it shows
Oh,
up in
yeah,
the chat.
I'll throw it back into the chat, but yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a rudimentary website. I don't know if it's a pretty small business, but you know, it takes a little bit of time. It's all custom orders, but they do a really good job.
Well, that's a start. You could even send, you know, and get a pint of their paint. Get your paint shop to spray it and then match that. I mean, at each point you're getting mistakes, but most paint shops want to use their paint because that's what they're used to using. So I don't know, you know, it's like bringing your own hamburger to a restaurant. You know, they're not very keen on prepping that stuff. So I don't know. It's 9:33, so we're getting right down to it. My 1931 D type has a convection cooling system. They can't leave it idling too long because it overheats. Yeah, well, those cars are meant to be driven. So yes, absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you very, very kindly to everybody. I'll let you unmute here at the end. We've still got 74 people on. It's 9:34. Thank you very kindly. Please go visit my website. Press the PayPal button, help John afford his retirement, all that kind of stuff. If you want information about alternators, call me, whatever. If you want that ride height information, you can send me an email, johntwist@universitymotorsltd.com. On my website also, I've got all that data there. I've got a lot of data. If I had enough time, I could put it all together and bind it up into a huge book. So anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Barney, thanks for being here. You can unmute yourselves now. Bill Wheat, where are you calling from? From Allegan?
Lansing, actually.
You moved?
I did. We lived in Grand Rapids for a while, and we're in Lansing.
Oh, nice to see you on here. Very, very nice. Severio, nice to see you from Canada. George, thanks for weighing in from Buffalo. And Rodolfo,
Thanks, John.
Rodolfo, thank you for being here all the way from Monterey.
Thanks. Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Yep, pleasure indeed.
Hey, John, job well done on those carburetors.
Oh, yeah. You got those right there?
Say again?
You got those right there, or they are already on the car?
They're already on the car and had it running and found out the water pump sounds like it has a tin can full of lug nuts in it.
Okay, and you have two things go wrong with the water pumps. They leak or the bearings get bad. And the textbook bearing, it sounds like a coffee can with a bunch of nuts and bolts in it. Just sounds awful. You go, what is going on? You look around, and then when the engine's off, of course, you grab a hold of the front pulley and it just usually rocks all over the place, even though it's not leaking a drip, so.
It doesn't leak a drip, and it has a grease fitting, and I tried to pump the grease into it and didn't solve the problem. But well done on the carburetors.
Hey, thank you. Oh, and Ron Kuno, I see you there. I talked to your boss this morning. He asked me about those brass synchros. And let's see, who else here? Dave Farrell, thanks for being here. We're still at 60 people, but anybody can get rid of Bill. Oh, Doc Rosevear, nice to see you here. Always a pleasure. Wish we still had those seminars. Tom Snook, thank you very kindly. Thanks for your donation. It's very kind. I'm going to be back down in next year. Be down in southern Alabama for a month, just over a month, trying to get out of the dreadful stuff here. Gosh, I don't want to complain about age, but I slipped on the ice yesterday, just just momentarily caught myself. I think I was hanging on to a grocery cart. And it just, my leg sort of slipped out. And of course, now today, you know, it hurts. So, yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry to hear that. It's 74 degrees and sunny here.
Your Bernie thing in the background has been killing me all night.
I just saw Bernie back there.
I mean, that's just been eating at me all night, and I'm so glad I got it out now. That's like an itch.
Well, I'm glad somebody noticed. Thank you.
I took a screenshot and showed my wife.
He belongs here
she had
with
a good
me in
laugh.
the minus 12 Celsius.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't do well at 74 degrees.
I don't want to make you guys feel bad, but it was 78 degrees in Florida today. It's about 69 now.
Oh, boy,
Yeah.
Marty, that's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's
Very
like,
nice.
there's no place like Kansas.
Yeah.
With 24 Celsius.
So, Rodolfo,
Yeah,
what's your temperature in Monterey?
Oh, well, let me do a quick search about
28
changing
maybe?
degrees. Today it was kind of hot. We were making the conversion. We were on almost 82 degrees.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
9 degrees in Phoenix.
Come on, south of the border, guys.
I dream of it.
It's almost like Cleveland, except it was 30 here today.
Oh, jeez.
Don't let the picture in the background fool you.
That's where you're tapping your ruby slippers together thinking, I wish I was there.
Actually, that picture looks like an island. That's actually on the shores of Lake Erie, Cleveland, last summer.
Oh, fantastic.
John, thank you very much. We all appreciate
Oh,
it.
hey.
You have a great night.
Hey, it's
Yeah, John,
it's
thank you
a
very
pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Good to see you, man.
Cheers. Have a great evening.
Thank
Great
you.
evening.
Can I share with you 30 seconds of a movie?
Yeah,
Just,
sure.
just
If you
30 seconons. Believe me.
if you can make it work, sure, go for it.
Oh, it says the host. That means you, John. It's not ability. I'm not able to share my
Yeah,
screen.
I don't know how to do this. So next
Okay.
time. Next time.
Yeah,
My-
next time.
My technical coordinator lives in Los Angeles, my daughter. So when I have questions, I'll talk to her sometime the next couple of, I'm working on her GT. And I'll say, how do I do that? And she'll say, well, Dad, just press that.
If anybody knows El Santo, it's the wrestling in Mexico is important, and El Santo is the biggest luchador in movies that we had. So there's an MGA, a 62 MGA in a 69 movie, and it is a fight alongside the car. That's a clip I want to show next time.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, gentlemen, ladies, thank you very kindly. And we'll do this again the second Tuesday next month. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good night.
Hey, John.
Thanks.
Hi, Bernie.
Thanks.
Good to see you, Bernie.
Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
There's
See you
John.
later. See you later, Crystal.
Thank you so much indeed, John.